Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and someone who knows a lot about Japanese spandex. Incoming random review in 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel, and welcome to what might be a review-loaded week, as a whole bunch of brand new stuff came in, and I kind of want to show it off, because, yeah, we've got some fun toys that have been dropping lately. So, we are going to start with Micronus Prime, our latest of the 13 Primes, and one that I was really excited about because he's so different than anything else that has been released in years. And now we get to find out why it's different. We have things to talk about. So, for starters, as you can see, he is a one-wheel motorcycle, as seen in many a sci-fi series or animes or movies, or take your pick. It's a fantasy vehicle because this thing is very difficult to actually drive if it did exist. You'll notice that I had these rear pieces folded down so that we could actually stand him up, because there's no real way to stand him up in this mode. You can unfold bits from the wheel and kind of try to tripod him somehow on those, but it's a little bit weird because, of course, it's a big wheel. And unless you've found a way to friction that wheel, it does not like to stand up. So this is one of those alt modes where you kind of just have to carry it around or drive it around as intended. You know, like you're, I don't know, playing with a toy. But as far as one-wheeled motorcycles go, it's not a bad-looking one. I do think that this weird look, this open roll cage look that it's got going on, is a little bit off-putting. It doesn't look quite appropriate. It looks like it's just sticking too far off for me to believe that it's an intended design. Front part of it's okay. That does look very motorcycle-esque. You can see the silver and the blue paint apps there, giving it the right look. You got a few hoses coming out of it to give it a little bit of tech detail. This does somewhat resemble the side of a motorcycle, like with all the support bars going through. But again, it's the front angle that just throws me off here. And then you've got these enormous exhaust pipes that totally aren't his hands in robot mode. But yeah, besides that, yeah, it's an interesting color scheme we got going on here. It's a super dark green. We got dark pale teals, pale green. It's a lot of different shades of green. So you know it's already in my favor. So there is that. Wheel cast in black. Not a whole lot of paint going on beyond just this front section. And of course, the one that's riding it. We'll get to him in a minute. We'll go ahead and take Micronis himself off just so we can kind of focus on the bike as is. Yeah, so the big detractor, like I said, is just like it's very hard to stand the bike up on its own without some kind of friction, or without figuring out how to get all of these pieces that will unfold for robot mode to actually work as some kind of stand, or to add some kind of like stopping force so that this stays in place. It's tricky. It's tricky to figure out, and it's unfortunate because otherwise, yeah, I do like how unique the vehicle mode is. We've never had a motorcycle like this before. So it looks okay. I wish it functioned okay. But that is beside the point. Let me get Micronis in here for a second. So we got a little Minicon boy going on here. He is about standard Minicon size. Like, he's buff, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, yeah, he stands about as tall as a standard Minicon would. So he's got that going for him. He is absolutely where the focus of the paint went, because he does have a lot going on. You will notice he is mostly cast in a translucent blue plastic with that pale green decorating the rest of it. Yes, it does trigger my concerns over clear plastic. Not only because it's very small joints being held with these clear sockets, but also because if we go to the back and look on the underside of his knees, he already has stress marks from when they put the knee together. And that's a little bit concerning to me. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about this toy. A little bit nervous. Hasbro, stop using clear plastic for ball joints, and that never works well. Stop using them for articulation in general. But if we go in and macro lens this thing, Micronus looking pretty good. Fully painted head works there. I do like how all the striping from what will be his Minicon disc mode does give him a really cool look to his robot mode. I'm not going to take anything away from the deco. He does look really neat. Cannot stop that, cannot take that away. Articulation wise, he does have a ball joint in the neck, so he has up and down, but it also folds back, so he has up, left and right, and up and down. He has full ball joint shoulders, so that's full rotation there. Ball joints in the elbows, so lots of room again for rotation as well as a full 90-degree bend. And no waist articulation, but he does have full universal hips, and then ball joints at the knees, so he has thigh rotation with that as well. So a fully articulated little guy, outside of like things like, waist joint, obviously. Now, on the backside, he does have a 5mm port that you could use on any of the Minicon ports that we've seen on recent Armada-based toys, or it just houses his artifact, which is the Chimera Stone. I find this to be the lamest of the artifacts, not only in the fact that it really doesn't do anything like super magical or like deity level as far as the primes go. It's just an energy transfer conduit, essentially. But it's also just kind of a lame accessory, like it looks like the fan that comes off of Reflector's belly. That's not terribly impressive, Micronus, but it is what it is. I should get him ready for the robot mode, though, so we can transform him. So I'm going to start by rotating the head around like so. I'm going to get the arms up into their position. Okay, so I will go ahead and tell you, I'm not happy with how this toy came out, and I will show you here why in a bit. Go ahead and push all of this down. Make sure the fists chunk into the sides like that. And then we just rotate these legs to the outside and then fold them up to get him into his Minicon disc mode. I do think it's appropriate that his alt mode does kind of look like a Minicon disc from Armada, outside the shape being slightly different. You can see the big Minicon logo that the deco creates once it's in the disc mode. It's very Robots in Disguise 2015, as is appropriate based, for how his look is based. Mine doesn't close together. I have tried and tried. Everything is lined up properly, but there is just something in that hip that is just pushing it away, and I cannot actually make that final connection. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So there is that. So that's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a bummer. Like that's just a mileage may vary thing. Yours might not do that, but it's very annoying on mine. I gotta go see if anyone's got a similar problem, figure out if there's a fix for that, because it does bug me a little bit. But what bugs me more is this motorcycle. So, in the original photos, I was just enamored by this thing. It's such a unique vehicle mode. What do you mean the legs turn into the full-size wheel? How did you do this? What black magic sorcery has allowed you to accomplish such a unique and cool transformation? Part forming. It's a part former in the most literal sense. So they sold this toy based on it being, oh, well, we worked some weaponizer technology into it. No, you didn't. You just made him a part former and you called it weaponizing. So as far as like being part of the weaponizer gimmick here, let's start the transformation by opening up those side pieces, and we can fold down these silver parts. That'll become the belly of the robot mode. Getting these wheels, getting these axles off of the wheel, this is tricky because it's 4 pegs going in at the same time, so they can stick and they can have a lot of friction. Thankfully, I have some thick thumbnails that let me get that off pretty effectively. Yeah, by the way, this hockey puck here, this also has a hard time for me aligning straight. This is about as close as I get it, and this is fine, but it does give me trouble getting it into like the full solid wheel shape. Now, if you want this wheel to actually be something weaponizer based, you do have plenty of 5mm ports all the way around, but also you can open it up and flip out that little handle to now use as some kind of shield or attachment. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. They gave us some little bit to actually accomplish that, so I guess I can't complain too much on this piece. It's a big wheel. What do you want it to do? At the moment, we want it to fold out into the legs, which does have this like really neat like multi-layer thing going on. So like you see like how the layers of the outside of the wheel just kind of fold up into each other to become the actual leg. That's kind of neat. It's kind of neat. And then the foot double hinges into place like so. If I can get this to unclip, there we go. Just like that. The two prongs you're going to want toward the back. So put the flat side forward. Make sure that the legs are in the right orientation so that the ankle tilt will actually work. There we go. There we go. So, with that done, and with his hips all set, let's get the rest of him transformed. The rest of this, yeah, like this is the stuff you could think of as weaponizers, because those big exhausts could make for big rifle guns, so I guess you could get away with that. And they do have 5mm ports on the sides, and I guess the top oriented like this, along with the one that makes up his hand, so you do have options for connecting. But then you have just like this big hunk here that's just not going to work for weaponizing. You've got one 5mm peg here just so you can get some idea, and then along the sides you have 5mm ports, so he does have options for connecting, but really like what are you gonna do with just this half of a motorcycle hunk? All right, let me get this transformed. You got to fold that up through there, and that just becomes the backpack. Go ahead and flip up the head, and we just start connecting everything together. So the legs go in like that. Micronus himself goes into the chest like so. There is a peg to sink in to make sure that it is in the right orientation. Go ahead and close up the chest. Make sure it all folds together in the right direction. Mine is having trouble. Come on, everything go in. Everything go in. Yeah, this toy is just like, there we go. This toy is just testing tolerances left and right. Gonna go ahead and plug in the Chimera Stone, and then we'll just make sure that the arms are in the right positions. Go ahead and attach those at the shoulder points. And then for this piece, it's, I don't know, it is whatever. It is whatever you can try to figure out for how to orientate them. They don't fold all the way up, which would be convenient. So they just kind of sit back here. It just says like these really weird helicopter blades on his lower back. I know that's how it came. It's about the best I got. But there we go. There's the full robot mode for Micronus. He is a squat little dude. So if I bring out our usual size comparison of Shadow Striker, you can see he is very much on the short side of the primes. He is considerably wide, very similar to Alchemist, but all that extra engineering to get that mini-con thing to work and to get that chest gimmick to work. It's a pseudo pretender that we have going on here. Yeah, this is where the comeback comes from. Yeah, you're getting a unique figure that does some weird stuff, but he's going to be a short king. So you got to accept that going in. He's going to feel small for a deluxe no matter what. And once we get him in there, yeah, the robot mode, yeah, like I was sold on this toy based on the unique things it could do. For being real here, I've never been huge on how the robot looks. He does have kind of a generic vibe to him, which is weird because A, this seems like a prototype for how to handle modern pretenders, and B, it's a prime. It's one of the 13. I think he should be looking a little bit more special than this. But it is what it is. So if I come in close, for instance, that head does not have a whole lot of unique design to it. It's just a visor and like a 2-layered mouth plate. That's basically all it's got going on. The body itself doesn't look bad. We get a little bit of extra paint in the shoulders and then in the midsection as well. So color's broken up a little bit more. His legs are just solid black because they have to be the wheel. But yeah, like, he does come across just looking kind of generic, and I would want a little bit more than that out of Micronis. So let's see. I don't want to go too long into this topic. As you can see, like, most of everything we saw detail-wise, we could see in the other modes. So he's not unveiling a whole lot of surprises here. He's just this kind of dumpy little guy with a little bit of a generic vibe to him. I do like that I can see Micronis's Minicon form all the way through. Like, the gaps in the chest do make that a little bit more interesting looking. I will give it that. That's about the most dynamic the design looks. As far as function goes, he does have a left and right on his neck. I believe it's ball jointed, but the way that it is connected is very tricky to actually get that ball joint to do anything else besides left and right. You have full universal shoulder articulation, and also, you know, nice rotation there at the torso and then the hinge. You have the bicep rotation, which is very tight on mine. Full 90-degree elbow. Wrist rotation, which is good with those big old mitts he's got. Again, no waist articulation, but he does have universal hips, 360-degree thigh rotation, full deep knee bend, and because of the way the knee is engineered, I kind of like how the tire comes up and makes it this nice round knee the entire time. That actually looks neat. And you do have the full ankle tilt going on as well. So, yeah, the toy itself is going to be divisive, I feel. You know, because of all of the extra things he does, he doesn't come with any accessory outside of the Chimera Stone. I kind of think that's a lame accessory to begin with. You know, you buy him based on just the fact that he has a lot of other playability to him. The unique vehicle mode, the Minicon integration with Micronis, the weaponizer elements. But those things are also going to be seen as something of a detriment. You know, the toy doesn't end up being all that engaging if you aren't into the whole Minicon hidden inside of him part, because then you're left with part forming the vehicle or a motorcycle mode that can't stand up. Things that some are going to look down on the toy for. So I feel like this is just going to be an interesting experimental piece. What you think of it is entirely up to you. Me, personally, I am a little bit disappointed that it's more part for me than anything. Even with the weaponizer excuse, that does seem a little bit thin. But the function of it is neat. Yeah, like, it's weird. It's weird. I find, like, I'm impressed in some ways. I don't know, disappointed in others. Leaves me a little bit overall indifferent to the toy. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. That's why you watch, just to get someone else's opinion and take on this. But there you go. There is my Micronis. And there we go. I don't know what else we're reviewing this week. It will be something. I got a whole bunch of stuff to share with you guys. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.